I'd like to call this meeting of the Anchorage Assembly to order and begin with a roll call.
Ms. Drummond? Here. Mr. Trainee will be late. He'll be here shortly. Mr. Honeman?
Here.
Ms. Gray Jackson?
Honored to be here.
Ms. Osiander?
Here.
Mr. Hall?
Here.
Mr. Stars, excuse. Mr. Stars, excused. Mr. Trombley?
Here.
Ms. Johnston? Here. Ms. Johnston is joining us on the phone. Mr. Flynn is excused. Mr. Birch?
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Very good. Ms. Drummond, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Well, as you can see, we're a little bit short on people here this evening. I understand the mayor is in D.C., and Mr. Michaelis has been injured, and so Mr. Wheeler has the helm. Do you want to do a substitute mayor's report, sir?
Madam Chair, I think I'll pass.
All
Thank you.
right. All right. I do have a few things to announce. The mayor has been a little bit later than anticipated getting ready for his proposed amendments to Title 21. Because of that, I have canceled the Title 21 committee meeting that was scheduled, and we'll schedule something again once we see something to talk about. The other thing I wanted to announce is there are some items on the agenda that we will talk about but not vote on this evening, and I wanted to give people in the audience a heads up on that. The first item would be under the old business section of our agenda. 11B and 11C will both carry over to future meetings. The ML&P transition from board governance has not yet been discussed in the Enterprise Committee, but Ms. Johnson has informed me that it will be, so we could be able to vote on that at our next meeting. And then the budget guidelines have not yet gone to the Budget Advisory Commission, and so those also will be postponed. Additionally, the ordinance on new public hearings on the preventative for criminally offensive sexual behavior by a licensed chauffeur, the taxi cab issue, we'll hear testimony, but we will not be voting tonight because the Public Safety Advisory Commission has requested an opportunity to review this at their meetings. And then my understanding is their next meeting is the 21st, which should be in time to get us input and a vote at our next regularly scheduled meeting. With that, I'll see if there are any committee reports. Mr. Birch, do you have anything you want to share?
We did have a meeting in the Oversight Committee at AWW with their board. Went very well. We had some good discussion regarding their capital and operating programs. And we have a meeting coming up on Friday with the Chamber of Commerce Board. That's about it. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Trombley, do you have anything?
No report.
Ms. Johnston, do you have anything?
Just to say that Mr. Burns mentioned we did have the AWW meeting, and we discussed transition. It was a very beneficial meeting, and we'll be moving that along. And we've also have a scheduled meeting for the ML&P transition.
Mr. Hall?
No report.
Ms. Gray Jackson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had the honor of spending 2.5 days in New Orleans attending the National League of Cities Energy, Environment, and Natural Resources Committee, and it was really, really a great committee meeting because we had 4 other committees, Community and Economic Development, Transportation, Finance, and IT, joining us at this meeting. It was just really, really great. We had a mobile tour of the city's public buildings and infrastructure, neighborhood redevelopment, and culture arts projects post-Katrina. We also participated in a conference call the day after President Obama's speech on the Jobs Bill. We participated in a conference call with himself. It was just absolutely enlightening. We also supported a resolution brought forward by the Finance Committee calling for a balanced approach to the federal deficit reduction. And we renewed several resolutions dealing with water infrastructure financing, the response and effects of the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, and Property Assessed Clean Energy Program. And these resolutions will be for discussion and approval by the National League of Cities Board of Directors at the Conference of Cities meeting in November. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Honeman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, we did have Public Safety Committee meeting yesterday at noon at the City Hall, and the primary focus, of course, after hearing from the department reports, was the ordinance proposed for public hearing tonight, reference change in the municipal ordinance regarding chauffeur's license of those who are arrested and charged with a sexual offense, a sex crime in this jurisdiction. And so as a result of that, we actually got fresh off the presses from the Municipal Legal Office an S1 version that further tweaked a few pieces of the language of the code that's existing, particularly pertaining to convictions, persons who actually are registered, required to register in any jurisdiction. Apparently there was some language that was lacking. So some good catches and good cleanup on the code while we're looking at this one for review. The next meeting is October 12th at City Hall. This one is going to be dealing with, I believe, the towing changes in the code, Title IX. Very timely. Ms. Tucker has been, actually, I think this week is actually giving a presentation on what she's found and discovered to help other municipalities, not just ours, on what we all know as tows that are non-consensual, that meaning that somebody takes your car when you park somewhere and they've not asked to take your car. They took it based on some private person's impound laws. Additionally, and I suspect we'll also be hearing on fireworks for New Year's Eve coming up in advance of New Year's Eve. So I anticipate a very fiery discussion, pun intended, and I would ask that each of the body here go through your notes, any phone calls you may have saved, emails, and if you have any recommendations or possible changes as such, get them over to us so we can kind of discuss this. I suspect we may see some potential changes to the code in advance of New Year's Eve so we can educate and inform the public if there is to be any changes. And if not, I believe we need to start early enough to let people know the parameters for that. It's very important. And then lastly, Madam Chair, took place this morning and going out again tomorrow morning on the 100,000 homes survey in the camps. It's from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. Pretty doggone dark out there at 4 in the morning this time of year. Why couldn't we have done this in June? And the other thing was just kind of wet from the last couple of days of rain. So a lot of good efforts being done, and I'm really curious to see what the numbers are. Thank you, Madam Chair.
For the record, Mr. Trainee has joined us. Mr. Trainee, do you have anything to report?
Just that I don't agree with Paul, but we'll deal with fireworks later. My goal is to make it not only legal in Anchorage, but sold here too. But we'll talk about that, Paul.
Yes, we.
Nothing else, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Drummond.
No report, Madam Chair. Thank you.
I'd like to recognize our former comrade, Mr. Gutierrez, in the audience. Good to see you again. And also, I omitted another item that will not be voted on tonight, and that's the MOU on the port. There is a work session that's been scheduled on September 23rd, Friday, on this matter from 1 to 2 p.m. So after that work session, we can all get up to speed, and then it would be voted on at the next meeting. With that, a motion for the incorporation of the addendum and the laid on the table would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Is there objection to incorporation? Seeing none, those matters are incorporated, and I will read them into the record. There's a Resolution 9A2, which is Resolution 249, recognizing and celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th, 2011 through October 15th, 2011. Under the D section, a new business on our agenda, 9 Delta 19, there's AM 509. This is change order number 1 to purchase order number 2011074 with Alta Geosciences Incorporated for environmental consult work with the Municipality Department of Parks and Recreation for $165,000. And then there is the matter I just mentioned, 9 Delta 20, which is AM 510. This is the Port Intermodal Expansion Project Memorandum of Understanding with the Maritime Administration. For new public hearings, the two matters that Mr. Honeman mentioned, the two S versions of 91, they are ordinances amending Anchorage Municipal Code Title 11 to add preventative and protective measures in response to criminally offensive sexual behavior by an applicant or licensed chauffeur, prescribing rules and conditions to guide administrative action and providing for an immediate effective date. There's an S and an S1 version. And then on the late on the table item, there is another resolution, 9A3. This is AR 250. It's a resolution recognizing and honoring the Anchorage Police Citizen Academy Alumni Association and its current president, Jim Koletka. And with that, a motion for the consent agenda would be in order.
Second.
Thank you. All right, the consent agenda is before you with including the addendum and the late on the table item, so I'll go down and see if there's anything you want to talk about. Ms. Drummond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 9A2 for reading and presentation.
9A.
On the addendum.
Oh, thank you. There's a lot of paper pages on this agenda. Got it. Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Drummond?
That's it right now.
Mr. Trainee.
That means the sponsor to be consistent on the S1 version. It cleans up some problems that were found out with the S version.
Okay.
That's all I
Anything,
am.
Mr. Honeman, anything you want to talk about?
9A3. And I
9A3,
believe you're reading on that.
that's the late on the table.
On the late on the table, I'm sorry, Madam.
Very good. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Honeman?
No, ma'am.
All right. Ms. Gray Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. From the regular agenda, 9 Bravo 1. Thank you.
9 Bravo 1. Anything else, ma'am?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Hall.
Yes, Madam Chair, 9A2, or 9A1 for reading,
9A1. Okay.
9E1,
9E1
and 9D20.
and 9 Delta 20. Oh, it's on the addendum.
E1.
Thank you. Ms. Johnston, is there anything you'd like to pull?
I just would like to make sure all of our names are added on 9B1.
I think that's a good idea, and without objection, we'll do that. Mr. Trombley, anything you'd like to discuss?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Birch?
9A2 has already been pulled.
It has, sir. Anything, nothing else? Mr. Wheeler, anything from the administration?
No.
Okay. So with that, I'll read over one time to make sure we've got them all. 9A1, A2, A3, 9B1, 9 Delta, oops, sorry. Yeah, but I was going to say Delta 20, and then E1, and that's it. Please vote on the remainder of the consent agenda. Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Good point.
9-0, passes unanimously. All right. With that,
Boards and commissions, it would be nice to recognize them if we could.
very good. If you were just appointed to serve on a board or commission, we'd very much like to meet you. And I'd ask if you could come forward and tell us your name and what board or commission you were appointed to.
Good evening, ma'am. My name is Michael Bruno. I live at 11620 Snowline Circle. You appointed me to an interim appointment at the Upper O'Malley Limited Road Service Area.
Excellent. Well, maybe
Thank
it
you very
won't
much.
be interim. Maybe you'll get sucked into that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Hi, Maury Hollowell, and I've been recommended to be appointed for the Public Safety Commission.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deanna Vlad, and I have been requested or appointed to the Zoning Board of Examiners and Appeals, and I thank you for that opportunity.
Well, thank you for being willing to serve. It's an important one. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here that was just appointed? We greatly appreciate your service. This city depends heavily on people like you for getting our work done, so thanks.
Deb, it's nice to see that Lauren Lehman was appointed to the Public Safety Board.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
So-
excellent.
It's good.
All right, the first item before us is AR 236. This is a resolution honoring and thanking Gary A. Taylor for more than 28 years of service to the municipality of Anchorage.
Move approval?
Second?
Is there any objection to approval? Hearing and seeing none, that is approved unanimously. Could Mr. Taylor come forward, please, if he's here? Mr. Taylor? Oh, there you are. Okay.
Whereas Gary A. Taylor began his service on May 26, 1983, with the municipality of Anchorage as a general foreman with the Public Transportation Department, weighing in at 200 pounds and 5 foot 11 and a half inches, and making $16.74 per hour, was promoted to the position of maintenance superintendent in 1987, and to the position of operations and maintenance superintendent in 1990, and whereas during his tenure, the Public Transportation Department logged more than 56 million miles with no serious maintenance-related equipment failures, and whereas he procured vehicles for share-a-ride vans to anchor-ride minivans to 40-foot buses, and whereas he readily adapted to numerous sweeping technological innovations in the transit field during his tenure, including electronic-controlled engines and transmissions, programmable logistic-controlled electrical systems, computerized diagnostic, computerized maintenance and management information system, and computerized inventory control systems. And whereas he served as a project coordinator for the Public Transportation Department's Advanced Transportation Operating System, which included upgrades to backbone operating and support system, using technologies including real-time bus departure signage and web interface, and safety security systems, which include on-bus audio and video recordings. And whereas he was a key player in establishment of the first People Mover Bus Rodeo, which expanded to a statewide bus and paratransit rodeo, challenging bus operators along a timed obstacle course to demonstrate safe and comfortable driving skills. And whereas he was recognized as People Movers Employee of the Month in August 1986 and has received certifications in substance abuse training, reasonable suspension determination for supervisors, and fundamentals of bus collision investigation. And whereas he has faithfully and loyally provided service to ensure daily access to safe, reliable public transportation that has served and benefits citizens and visitors to Anchorage, as well as members of the department. And whereas he is an active member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary, District 14, and has been recognized for his contribution. Now, therefore, the Anchorage Municipal Assembly recognizes the many contributions and honors Gary A. Taylor for more than 28 years of outstanding dedicated service to the municipality and the citizens of Anchorage, passed and approved by the Assembly this day.
Any comments, sir?
Well, it's been an honor, Madam Chair, Assembly members, administration, what there are of you here. I've served 6 mayors, 6 directors in the Public Transportation Department, including Jody, who just disappeared somewhere. Oh, there she is. And thank everybody for their opportunities to do all the things that I could do over the past 28 years. Little did I know 28 years ago that I would be here today in my last week and a half of employment with the municipality. It's been fun.
Now,
It's been exciting.
I was told you hired both of them. Is that right?
Well, I am responsible for bringing Paul Honeman onto the payroll in the municipality as an assistant parts warehouseman back in the early 80s. And Elvie was working in the for Chip Dinnerline, I think, at the time.
I'm sorry, Ms. Gray Jackson, I didn't mean to. You go ahead.
It's been fun, and thank you all.
Just a minute, sir. Ms. Gray Jackson wants to say something.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So let's get the record straight. Gary was honored. When you came on board, I was working as the Transit Director Secretary in Chip Dinnerline's office, and I welcomed you on board, and I think I said, hey, let me show you the ropes. And I'm really glad that I had the honor this evening to stand with you as, we as a municipality thanked you for your service and said goodbye and have a wonderful retirement. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Honeman?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Gary, I don't know, what can I say? I think you took a pretty good risk. It paid off. I was there a little over a year, and I left the department. You stayed and excelled and moved along. And anyway, Transit's a better place because of you. I really appreciated my time that I was there. And, of course, as you know, I stay in touch with a lot of the guys. I don't know what it is. You're just kind of a family. So even I didn't recognize 56 million miles with no significant major mechanical. That's a huge feat for any public transit system. I'd stack it up against the rest of the world. I realize we may not have the biggest fleet, but we've got a pretty darn good one. And keeping it going is no small feat either. So thank you for your years of service. And wish you there is life after municipality, but I urge you to stay in touch and stay in tune around here.
Well, I guess I should take this opportunity to say I couldn't have done it without all our mechanics and our bus operators. They're the ones that did those miles for me.
There you go.
So I couldn't do it alone. It's a wonderful crew I had.
Mr. Trainee?
Gary, thanks for the little rodeo that we had. I remember when Cheryl Clemens and I were driving the bus through there, and you decided we were not talented enough to drive buses. I think she took out more barricades than I'd ever seen gone before. But thank you very much, because that was fun. It gave us a good feel for the type of equipment you guys drive so well over there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Honeman?
And one last thing. I remember myself and Tom took, I think, second or third place in the troubleshoot out. We did that for a couple of years, too, all the mechanical maintenance guys. And
that's true.
Actually, as a parts warehouseman, I was on a member of a team doing troubleshoot out stuff. It's pretty interesting, so I got the opportunity to transit.
We thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
The next item before us is Resolution 249. This is a resolution recognizing and celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th through October 15th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there any objection to approval? Hearing and seeing none, that matter is approved.
Okay. See, this is a resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly recognizing and celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th through October 15th, 2011. Whereas, as reported by the United States Census Bureau in the 2010 census, the Hispanic population accounts for over half the growth of the total population in the United States between 2000 and 2010. And whereas in the 2010 census, an estimated 50.5 million Hispanic Americans reside in the United States and comprise 16.3% of the nation's total population. And whereas for Alaska, the 2010 census reflects a 51.8 6.8% increase of Hispanic Americans now residing in our state, and of the 39,249 Hispanic Americans now calling Alaska home, approximately 22,470 reside in Anchorage and comprise 7.7% of Anchorage's population. And whereas Hispanic Americans have played important roles in American history, from making important discoveries and excelling in science, education, law, politics, music, art, and sports, and whereas since 1988, September 15th has been chosen as a starting date for the National Hispanic Heritage Month because it marks the anniversary of the independence of the 5 Latin American countries, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. And whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month is an opportunity to celebrate the culture and traditions of those who trace their heritage to Spain, Mexico, and the Spanish-speaking nations of Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. And whereas Hispanic Heritage Month is a time to reflect on the history, culture, and teachings of Hispanic Americans who have contributed to our state, nation, and world, now therefore the Anchorage Municipal Assembly recognizes and celebrates September 15th through October 15th, 2011 as National Hispanic Heritage Month, passed and approved by the Anchorage Assembly.
Do either of you want to make a statement?
Thank you to the members of the Assembly. We appreciate this recognition, and it's a wonderful month coming up starting Thursday.
Very good.
Just wanted to echo that. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here again, especially on a beautiful night when I can leave whenever I want. But thank you again for the resolution, and I hope on behalf of the Hispanic Affairs Council of Alaska that you'll be seeing more from us.
Very good.
Thank you.
Mr. Honeman?
I'd urge you to stick around for a few more minutes. We've got some accolades as well, but good to see you again, Mr. Gutierrez. Yolanda, thank you very much. And
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item before us is 9A3. This is Resolution 250. It's a resolution recognizing and honoring the Anchorage Police Citizens Academy Alumni Association and its current president, Jim Koletka.
move to approve.
Second. Is there any objection to approval? Hearing and seeing none, that matter is approved unanimously. Please come forward. Mr. Koletka, and I don't know if other members of the Academy are coming forward too. No? Okay.
Come on up. Come on.
Sure, you're here. Come forward.
So he'll get one for you guys. Take with you, suitable for families, and another one for the Alumni Association.
Derek?
Gather around. Come on.
A resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly recognizing and honoring the Anchorage Police Citizens Academy Alumni Association and its current president, Jim Koletka. Whereas the Anchorage Police Department conducts 2 citizen police academies per year and has since 2005, and whereas the graduates of the Citizens Police Academy, CPA, are encouraged to join the Anchorage Police Citizens Academy Alumni Association, which is a nonprofit voluntary organization of interested CPA graduates, and whereas the Anchorage Police Citizens Academy Alumni Association promotes and improves community relations, provides continuing education, increases community involvement, and provides an invaluable service by assisting and supporting the Anchorage Police Department and all Anchorage public safety organizations. And whereas the Anchorage Police Citizens Academy Alumni Association assists the Anchorage Police Department by volunteering during public events, police training sessions and academies, raising and receiving funds for equipment for public safety staff, the DARE program, and for injured and or fallen public safety officers. And whereas Jim Koletka was born and raised in central Wisconsin, and in June of 1974, Jim came to Alaska, courtesy of the U.S. Air Force. And whereas in June of 1978, Jim joined the private sector and went to work for Long's Drugs, and for the past 26 years plus has been employed by Alaska Housewares Incorporated, most recently as VP of Sales for the company. And whereas in late December 2004, Jim saw an ad in the local newspaper and, not knowing what he was getting into, applied for the 2005 First Anchorage Police Citizens Academy, the first after a multi-year hiatus. And whereas after going through the academy, Jim fully embraced the Citizens Academy concept and continued to completely support that concept since the first time. And whereas after graduating from the academy, Jim became involved as vice president of the Anchorage Police Citizens Academy Alumni Association and was elected as president in January of 2007, re-elected in 2009 and 2011, and a position he currently serves. And whereas in May of 2006, Jim became an accredited and certified Citizen Police Academy coordinator with the approval of the Anchorage Police Department Chief, Walt Monaghan, and that his certification renewed under later Chief Rob Hune, and was the first civilian to serve as a certified coordinator for Citizens Police Academies in Anchorage. And whereas Jim accepted an appointment to fill a vacant position on the National CPA Board in May 2008 and was instrumental in bringing the National Police Academy Alumni Association Conference to Anchorage in May of 2009, and whereas Jim and his wife, Linda Bultman, retired in August of 2011, are relocating to Marianna, Arizona, and whereas Jim and his wife, Linda, and another Anchorage CPA graduate, and their 2 yellow Labrador retrievers, Levi and Gabe, encouraged you to support police academies and alumni associations throughout the country, and also encourage you to be active in public safety matters in your community. And now, therefore, the Anchorage Assembly resolves that the Anchorage Police Citizens Academy and Alumni Association and Jim Koletka are recognized and honored for their many hours of dedicated service and commitment to the citizens of the municipality of Anchorage and the state of Alaska, and further wish Jim and Linda the best of luck on their relocation and encourage their continued participation in support of public safety in their new home community in Marianna, Arizona, passed and approved by the Anchorage Assembly this day.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Assembly. I really believe in this concept, and I'd highly recommend. We've had past Assembly members come through the academies, and everybody learns a lot about what our officers and what a great department they are, and they learn why they're the way they are.
Super. Thank you. Mr. Honeman?
Yeah, just as a point of personal privilege, Madam Chair, thank you very much. Just to let folks know that the Citizen Police Academy, actually the first one was in 2001. We talked about a multi-year hiatus. Didn't know what to do with the volunteers, the people who really were graduates and didn't know what to do, and went to an academy coordinator training in 2004 in Texas, came back. We started the first class in the spring of 2005, of which Jim was an unknowing victim when he first signed up. But the Alumni Association was born in the fall of 04, early 05. And Jim and Linda eventually wanted to know what the heck he was doing when this evenings came out, and have really just taken a real good personal to heart, ownership of this program. And so, Jim, I don't recall exactly what the numbers are. Do you roughly how many people are in the Alumni Association currently?
Between 80 and 100 paid that have graduated, and we've had over 400 or 500 people go through the class since I've been around.
And do you have the estimate of how many hours? I think last I heard somewhere over 30,000 hours.
Something close to that. Yeah.
Volunteer hours to this community through different events. So it's a huge endeavor, and my hat's off to each and every one of you. I see from the Alumni Association some folks I know still continue as a coordinator with the department. I'm going to miss you a lot. You're a good friend and been a great friend of public safety in Anchorage. Thank you.
Thanks.
We thank you very much. You've helped make Anchorage a better place.
Okay, thank you.
The next item before us is 9 Bravo 1. This is Resolution 235. It's a resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly supporting Anchorage United for Youth's goal of 90% on-time graduation of Anchorage youth from high school by 2020.
Move to approve.
Second?
Is there any objection to approval? Hearing and seeing none, that's approved unanimously.
A resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly supporting Anchorage United for Youth's goal of 90% on-time graduation of Anchorage youth from high school by 2020. Whereas high school graduation is a critical milestone for youth and her family and serves as an important predictor of individual financial and life success. And whereas educational achievement is a bellwether of economic growth capacity and socioeconomic stability, which is attractive to business investment in the community. And whereas it takes strong families, excellent schools, and supportive communities to help our youth make good choices, stay on track, and graduate on time. And whereas Anchorage United for Youth is a coordinated public-private community-wide partnership convened by United Way of Anchorage to align efforts and resources in a focused, intentional, and coordinated plan to drive better educational outcomes for Anchorage youth. And whereas Anchorage United for Youth has set a goal to increase the on-time graduation rate of Anchorage youth from high school to 90% by 2020. And whereas the current on-time high school graduation rate of 71% is better than it was when Anchorage United for Youth formed 4 years ago, and it remains imperative to increase the number of youth who graduate on time from high school. And whereas achieving a 90% on-time high school graduation rate by 2020 requires a community to unite in support of this goal. And whereas increasing the on-time graduation rate requires the schools, government, service organizations, private sector, faith community, and concerned community members to stand united for Anchorage youth and commit to improved educational outcomes. And whereas every Anchorage resident can take initiative in the 90% on-time graduation of Anchorage youth from high school by 2020 with simple actions to support Anchorage's youth. And whereas service organizations can be a part of the 90% on-time graduation by 2020 goal through alignment of programs and services with the Anchorage United for Youth plan. And whereas the municipality of Anchorage can promote 90% on-time graduation by 2020 goal by aligning the upcoming education summit to foster and deepen strong connections between families, schools, and community partners to improve educational outcomes. Now and therefore be it resolved, the Anchorage Municipal Assembly endorses the Anchorage United for Youth's goal of 90% on-time graduation of Anchorage youth from high school by 2020 and urges all members of the Anchorage community to become active participants and supporters.
Madam Chair, my name is Greg Razzo, and I have the privilege of serving as the chair of the Leadership Committee for Anchorage United for Youth. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank and applaud the Assembly for standing united for our youth here in Anchorage. The Anchorage United for Youth partnership is truly a partnership between government, the schools, private agencies, business, all of us working together to support our kids. And this particular resolution that supports the on-time graduation rate of our children is fundamental to their success. So thank you for your support. We will continue to work through our partnership to achieve this goal. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, Assembly members, I'm Michelle Brown with United Way of Anchorage, and we just have a little bit of bling for you all. We may approach the clerk. There is nothing of value that needs to be declared. I'll let you know that right now. It is just some reminders of the work we have underway and how every member in this community, including yourselves, can take a stand for our youth in ways both simple, easy, everyday, or long-term. In the packet is a commitment form asking if you will step up and say what you'll do to support youth in any way that's comfortable for you and that lets our youth know we stand behind them, we stand with them, and we expect a lot out of them. So thank you so much for consideration of this resolution, for passing it, for standing with us, and we will make it. In the 5 years ago when we started, we were at a 60% on-time graduation rate. Today we're at 71. We will continue diligently until we hit that 90% mark, and then we'll take the last 10 after that. So thank you all very much.
Ms. Gray Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Michelle, and everybody here for this. This is a wonderful program, and I took out my pledge card, okay, and not to try and embarrass anybody, but I am committing this evening to take a youth to lunch every quarter to talk about government and teach them how government works for the next 2 years. And I challenge my colleagues to make their pledge right here and now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Honeman.
Yeah, thank you very much for your commitment to our community. Obviously, education is a cornerstone of a great community, and we couldn't do it without your help. And it's really great that you've been putting together these efforts with collaboratively. It was wonderful, and I'll meet the pledge at least. We'll figure out what the dollar amount is, and we'll go from there. So thank you very much.
Ms. Drummond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had the pleasure of participating in a conversation with these folks and the rest of the leadership team last week, and I've already committed to spread the word with the community councils that are in my district over the next month and a half.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I just toured the Teen Underground upstairs right before this meeting and realized how many assets we've got spread all over the place that, frankly, folks aren't aware of and don't know. So I applaud you very much for the linkages that you're creating, because together we're so much stronger. I certainly want to do everything I can to make sure that that great facility we've got upstairs is utilized fully. And so that's one thing I'm going to be working on. Thank you. But thank you very much. Wonderful goal.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is 9 Delta 20. This is Assembly Memorandum 510. It's the Port Intermodal Expansion Project Memorandum of Understanding with the Maritime Association.
Move to continue to the next meeting.
Second.
Is there any objection? Hearing and seeing none, that's continued, with a reminder to everybody that there is a work session coming on the 23rd. The next item before us is 9E1. There she is. This is Informational Memorandum 94. It's the Board of Equalization report for the Assembly year 2011.
Move approval.
Acceptance?
Move.
And there's a second. And before us, we have Ms. Burke, who's the chair of that board, to give us our annual report and respond to some questions. Go ahead, Ms. Burke.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here again tonight and to give you our annual report.
Could you move the microphone closer? Thank you. Got the television cameras to pick you up.
Good.
All right.
We continue to have a decrease in the number of people who are filing appeals. Now, I would like to think it's because they understand their tax assessment better, and I hope that they are utilizing, which I have every indication to believe they are, the opportunity to work with the assessor's office year-round. You don't have to wait until you get your green card to go in and see what's happening with your property. The more we can spread this out throughout the year, I think the more satisfaction people have with knowing how the numbers were arrived at. They may not like them, but if they can understand them, it goes a long, long way. I'm going to jump to the very end of my report where there's the recommendations that the code says we should give to you at the end of each year. And it's a repeat. We've got to educate the public on how the taxing system works and what their rights are and how they can utilize them. We as a board have done just about everything we can think of to do this. We have listened to your chair, who has given us feedback from the Ombudsman, saying that people don't understand. So we have made sure that in a prominent place on the forms they file, the dates are there, what they must do, the time limits, everything without putting the whole code on the form. The key points right above where they sign. Hopefully, that'll draw their attention. Plus the fact the assessor's office has been working at our strong suggestion to make sure that their staff people at the front desk answer questions correctly and fully, encouraging the people who are coming in to ask questions. But we still have a long way to go. And I don't think that we're going to get there without a concentrated effort on all the parties to help people understand it. It's their right to understand it. The board members are more than willing to do presentations. We've done them in the past and we'll do them in the future. But back to what is mandated, and that is to give you the results of our work. We had 627 appeals filed this year. That is real property appeals. What makes us feel the best is that most of those get resolved before we get them. If we get totally if we run out of work, that's fine with us. That means that people are coming to agreement with the municipality. Again, they may not like it, but if they can understand it, they're more likely to agree. And the important thing is they understand it. Of those that couldn't be resolved, we had 108 come directly to us. 6 of those we remanded back to the municipality to get additional information or to clarify something that wasn't clear from their presentation and the presentation by the appellant. As a usual matter, a remand is for the benefit of the appellant. If we don't have all the information, we're not going to rule until we do. Now, of those that were remanded, 2 things can happen. They can work something out with a municipality, or they can stick to their guns and say, no, I'm still not satisfied, I want to go back to the board. Then the municipality must bring in to us the information we've requested. 3 came back, which is remarkable, that half of them got settled before they had to come back to us. And again, I'd be just as happy if none of them came back to us, that they got them settled. We upheld 92 valuations. We lowered 15, and 1 we increased. By law, we have the right to increase. It's one of the 4 criteria that are the basis for appeals, if it's undervalued. And if it's undervalued, our duty is to raise it up. Now, the net effect on the taxable property with real property within the municipality was over $13 million. Now, this is considerably higher than you've seen in the past, mainly because of one particular appeal, which did come in with a significant decrease. So please don't think we're just giving the farm away, but we are doing what the evidence tells us we have to do. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
We have some. Mr. Birch, you're first.
Well, Ms. Burke, I just wanted to thank you profusely for your efforts and the efforts of the entire board for the many countless volunteer hours that you've put in to basically take this on. And it is remarkable to see the reduction, and certainly good work with the municipal assessor's office and the feedback. And we have every confidence in your good work, and the numbers certainly reflect that. And I would remind the body, I don't think it's news to anybody here, that absent a Board of Equalization, the Anchorage Assembly gets to sit and hear and sit in judgment on each one of those. And it's probably one of the more important roles that the Assembly has, and it's certainly been very capably dispatched with your good work. And thank you for your efforts, and appreciate this report.
Thank you very, very much. I will make sure I pass that on to everyone, because when things are going fast and furious during the process, you can get kind of discouraged because you put in so many hours and no one seems to ever say thanks.
Well, I look forward to this every year. Thank you.
Mr. Honeman.
Well, I want to echo that. Thank you for yours and the other members of the board service to the community. It is huge. I have had some rather heated conversations with some folks who believe their assessments are coming in differently, and they have made conversation with the assessor's office, and a good percentage of those have been resolved prior to getting to your step as well. Right. So I suspect might see some of the folks who have contacted me, and then usually I refer them back to the process. But I don't know. I'd love to be able to set in on a couple of your commission meetings if it's possible someday, just to witness how you guys are taking care of the business. I think it's great. Thank you.
Thank you. And we welcome any member of the Assembly to come to any meeting we have. They're always open to the public.
Thank you.
I want to thank you, too, and particularly to recognize those improvements in both the clarification coming from you and the clarification coming from counter people, because it was a significant problem area. I'm glad to hear it's improving. I have continued conversations with the Ombudsman because people do call her about this issue. And it seems that one of the ongoing concerns now is to clarify for everybody just how properties are assessed more than the process itself. I know that Ms. Mahoney's been aware of that concern, and I'm hoping that it's something that we can all work on this next year to get that clear and consistent information to the public. So I do thank you.
Well, Madam Chair, I assure you the board will do everything they can to help you along this way. And thank you for your courtesy and your kindness.
Thank you. With that, moving on. I note that Mr. Lehman has joined us. We appointed you a little bit earlier, Mr. Lehman. I think everybody knows him, but if you'd like to come down and tell us what board or commission you're on. It's great to see your continued community involvement, sir.
Chairman Osiander and other Assembly members, I have been appointed to the Public Safety Advisory Commission.
And you're going to have to hear very shortly. Are you going right on it?
I think so.
Now? Okay, you will hear at your next meeting an issue that we have before us regarding taxi cab drivers. All right, Mr. Trainee? You want to?
It's the 20. I think you've got it scheduled for the 21st of September. This deals with the taxi cab driver issue. We've got 4 or 5 different versions. We want you to take a look at them and let us know what you think about it. ACLU signed on to it, so the taxi cab owners industry.
Okay.
They came and said they don't have a problem with it.
The email note I got said that we were going to deal with the sidewalk ordinance.
Yes.
That's one you're dealing with too.
You'll have that
Oh,
one.
okay. So
All kinds of things.
there's at least 2 things?
Yeah. Lauren, this is overtime. And you can handle it. I've seen your work.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you for your work.
All right. With that concludes our consent agenda, and we're moving on to our old business. The first item before us is 11A, AM 468. This is the appointment of Deanna Wald to the Zoning Board of Examiners and Appeals.
Move approval.
Second.
Is there any objection to this appointment? Ms. Johnston, are you okay with it?
Yes.
Seeing no objection, hearing no objection, that matter is approved unanimously. The next item before us is 11B. This is an informational memorandum number 88. This is the 2011 ML&P transition from board governance to municipal utility.
Move to postpone to our next meeting.
Second.
Is there any objection to that? Hearing and seeing none, this is continued on to our next meeting. The next item before us is 11C. This is AR 231. It's a resolution of the Assembly establishing fiscal guidelines for proposed expenditures in the 2012 municipal operating and capital spending plans.
Move to postpone to the next meeting, Madam Chair.
Second.
Is there any objection to that? Hearing and seeing none, this one is also continued on to our next meeting. With that, we've got about 5 minutes here before we can deal with our public hearings. So I'd like to take a 5-minute recess.
Order the agenda and hear 14C first.
Thank you.
Second.
Ms. Bucera is not on the city dime anymore, but she's here just for this matter. So if we could get this taken care of, she could go home.
Let's do it, ma'am.
All right. This is AO90. Oh, I better ask. Was there any objection to reordering the agenda? There appear to be none. So the first item before us is 14C. This is AO90, an ordinance amending the municipal personnel rules, Anchorage Municipal Code Section 3.30.129 regarding standby pay, Section 3.30.1210 regarding shift differential, and Section 3.30.152 regarding annual leave accrual while on paid leave. That's accompanied by AM 475. If anybody would like to talk to us about this, please come forward.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Assembly, my name is Ken Langford, and I thank you for allowing me to come up. I've come up to talk to you before. Let me introduce myself. I work for MLP as a operations supervisor. I'm one of the guys that gets called out when the lights go out in MLP service territory. And I've been probably working under that. I had been working under that rule that has been introduced. The amendment has been introduced by the mayor, and I'm here to ask you to support that, because it changes something that we have worked under for many, many years that takes away our standby pay when we get called out. And a lot of us go back on, well, all of us go back on standby for the rest of that 24-hour cycle without standby pay. So I did that for about 6 years before I first filed a grievance on that, and contrary to Dan Fagan's opinion that we watch every dime we make. We did work under that for many, many years before we complained. So I just want you to know that I'd appreciate if you'd support that. Thank you.
I did want to tell you, I appreciated you bringing that to our attention. I did read the grievance and the settlement on it, and I'm glad to see that we're finally taking care of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Hohenman has a question too, sir.
I'll just withdraw comments. I just wanted to say the same thing, but I believe I got the information that you had sent through and understand it really well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this matter? We don't have any other questions for you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who'd like to speak? Hearing and seeing no one, public hearing is closed. Second. Seeing no one in queue, please vote. Ms. Johnston?
Yes.
That item is approved unanimously. The next item before us is 14A and all its cousins. This is AO 91. This is an ordinance amending Municipal Code Title 11 to add preventative and protective measures in response to criminally offensive sexual behavior by an applicant or licensed chauffeur. And it is accompanied by an S version and an S1 version and accompanied by an assembly memorandum. And as noted before, we will not be voting on this tonight, but we would like to hear your opinion. Anybody who'd like to speak to this matter, please come forward. And if you could begin by stating your name, and if it's a complicated one, spelling it.
Okay. My name is Mark Marion, M-A-R-I-O-N, former Alaska Yellow Cab dispatcher. And first of all, I want to say to the Anchorage Cab community, thank you, Dick Traney, for putting this ordinance together, because this ordinance is necessary. However, it needs to be expanded, though. We need to include cab drivers that assault passengers and that sort of thing. Otherwise, I want to say this ordinance is actually a good one, because we need to protect as much public safety as possible. So, thumbs up, Mr. Traney.
All right, thank you. Anyone else who'd like to speak to us about this ordinance?
Good evening. Excuse me, recovering from a cold. Pertaining to this ordinance, I had wrote up a petition. Actually, it was supposed to be a request to the commission, the Transportation Commission Board, the Transportation Inspector, Brent Frazier, the Anchorage Assembly members, the Municipality of Anchorage, and the Mayor. And this is what I have. We, the Anchorage cab drivers and permit owners, do hereby petition the Municipality of Anchorage to implement into Title 11 the following statement. Any taxi cab driver or other public driver who is accused or suspected of sexual assault, regardless of the degree, be automatically suspended from operating a taxi cab, limousine, or vehicle for hire, or public transportation vehicles until all charges are cleared or a conviction. Due to the safety of the public and the sensitivity of this nature regarding this type of criminal activity, we are requesting miniature cameras be reinstalled into taxi cabs and into all other modes of transportation if needed. And I collected some signatures, but not as many as I wanted to, 13 just on my list. Why I did this is because I've been a cab driver for over 30 years, and I've come before this assembly before, and my concern is for the public safety. This year we have the Alaska Federation of Native Convention coming here, and the people that are very vulnerable to this type of situation, they spend a lot of money here. And as a cab driver in general, I know what my professional job is, and that's to pick up the residents of Anchorage and visitors and take them safely from point A to point B and sometimes C. And this is not happening sometimes. I'm not saying that the current driver, Norman, is guilty. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that there is a problem. And it's not only in the cab industry. So I'd like you to take a look at that. And because sometimes you could be falsely accused of different charges. I was falsely accused before in my life. And I had to hire a lawyer. So I know what it's like. And I'd like to say that with that, I think that if there was cameras in the cabs, it would protect not only us, but it would protect the public. So please consider this. I see the mayor's not here tonight.
No, he's out of town, out of state.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I also was wondering about the city anniversary. What was going on with that, but I know I'll have to bring that up later. Thank you.
Okay, we didn't get your name, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lynette Marino Hins, chauffeur's license number 1527. They're in the 8,000s now.
All right, we do have some questions, too. Just a minute. Mr. Honeman, you're first.
Yes, right here. Thank you, Lynette. I know I've seen you at other Public Safety Committee meetings when we were talking off the road and some other issues. So I just wanted to share with the previous person who testified and also to you and others that the Public Safety Committee meeting yesterday, one thing that was made perfectly clear, I think, by everybody was that there are very good professional cab drivers, chauffeurs, permitted drivers in this city. And so by no means does this ordinance mean to slight or diminish any professional certifications and or experiences of the chauffeur permitted and licensed drivers in Anchorage. But it is a matter of public safety, and I'm heartened to hear from two persons who are in this industry or have been in this industry who are actually saying those same words. So thank you very much for your time to testify. It's important.
Thank you. I agree. There is professional drivers out there.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. Just a minute. Mr. Trombley has a question, too.
Lynette, appreciate you coming down. Apologize, my voice got a cold. You said 30 years you've been a cab driver? Is that
Over 30 years,
Over
yes.
30 years. How often does sexual assaults happen from cab drivers? In your experience, 30 years plus. How many times? Has it been? Is it frequent? Is it a lot? Is it very rare? Once every 10 years, 5 years?
It does happen, and the ones that don't go reported, that's one that I'm concerned about, because I have picked up females that got in my cab and told me that they were assaulted. Actually, my cousin, my girl cousin, she's older than me. This happened to her years ago, and she worked up on the pipeline after she graduated from college. She lived off of Northern Lights and Arrow, and of course, she had to go the back way to go home. Well, a cab driver tried to sexually assault her, and she was able to escape the vehicle, and she left all of her clothes inside. So I do know that it does happen, and she didn't know enough to look on top of the visor for the identification of the driver because she was panicking, and she didn't know to look at the number on the cab. And so I'm saying, just like in any profession, it could be lawyers, it could be school bus drivers, it could be anybody. We don't know. And I was not in that cab. I do not know what happened. But with that camera, I think it would help a lot. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jonathan Lesko. I'm currently driving for Yellow Cab.
Sir, you're going to have to spell your name. We couldn't quite get it.
Its last name is Lesko.
Thank you.
Sure. I don't know, what do you know about this business?
A little.
Real life experience with people. The good side, the happiness, the dark side. Drunks, criminals, pimps, prostitutes, the CEO of BP. Anyone can end up in my cab in any given day. When we're talking about sexual assault, I really want to go down a little bit to the core of the problem. should I say, from the 50s and the 60s in this country, since the women liberation and the feminization of this country. If I'm a white male and happen to be a Protestant white male, I became a minority in this country. If I'm picking up someone and a lady shouting rape, I end up in jail right away, without anyone want to hear the other side of the coin and the story. Now, having said that, I also want to spare with you, I was born and raised in communism in Eastern Europe. I have seen government, I have seen tyranny, I have seen dictatorship. That's why I left. And what I'm seeing in this country, less and less freedom every day. More and more regulations, more and more laws. And your freedom is fading away each day. But back to the original story is what right do I have as a cab driver, especially with male customers? It's her word against mine word, right? That's the law right now in this country. So again, the question is, what right a male, white male driver having in this country? If anyone can answer that question.
Sir, we're not going to answer questions during your testimony, so I assume that's a rhetorical, and you didn't really. Okay, so go ahead, sir. Wait a minute. Mr. Honeman has a question for you, though, if you don't mind.
I actually have a comment for you and probably the answer to your question, so you ask it. You have the exact same rights any United States citizen has, a citizen in the state of Alaska and a citizen in this municipality. The problem is, and I don't know that you may or may not realize, that likely you have picked up children from shelters going to and from schools with the voucher. Medicaid, Medicare, Medicaid voucher. Women, children, riding alone, often, in your cab. And I'm not saying just because you pick up those passengers that you're automatically guilty of anything or assume that. But we have, per capita, in this city, in this state, a higher, much higher than average in any city or state in the country, in this United States. And the governor of this state has actually asked us to choose respect and to try to make a difference and try to do something to reduce that number. And these are, as the previous speaker said, sometimes unreported crimes because these people feel somewhat responsible because they chose to get in that cab. And they have no... I'll finish. You had your statement.
And the question.
And the question is what rights you had, and I answered that. You have every right. But the concern is, and I ask of you, is what right does a woman or a child have to ride in your cab to remain free from being accosted?
Okay. Do you want to respond, sir?
It happened actually a few times. I pick up a customer, lady customer, and she's showing her breast to me in the cab. Should I file a sexual harassment against me? Because obviously she was exposing herself to me.
Did you ask her to get out of the cab? Or just
sure, I did.
Okay.
No, but that's, again, the bottom line, to understanding this business, you have to in this business. And you get to see the real life. And Mr. Horneman, you were working for the Anchorage Police Department back in time, and you understand the reality and real life. What is it all about?
Yes, and actually I've spent a lot of time recently with this industry working on another issue, and I'm learning a lot more than I didn't realize. And so I've come to really appreciate the complexities of your duties.
And the bottom line, what I'm trying to say is kind of a mutual respect is missing in this business. When not just only one side, the cab drivers have to respect the customers, but the customers also have to respect the cab drivers.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Don't disagree.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Good evening, My name's Chad Kolowinski. I drive for Checker Cab. My last name is Kolowinski. I've been driving for many years now, 16 years. I'm kind of pulled both ways on this. I'm not saying the incidents that happened, the guy is guilty or innocent, but it goes both ways. Sometimes you feel that our civil rights as a cab driver being violated, maybe. What happened to innocent until proven guilty? I'm going to refer to a case that I'm not real familiar with, but I understand a little bit with, I'm sure you guys do too, John Pate. He got accused of the same thing. And why wouldn't his liquor license be pulled from his bars and him lose his income until he's found innocent or guilty or whatever? It kind of goes that way with us too. But then on the other hand, I understand if this guy did it, it should, he should be accountable for his actions. And then there's another case that a cab driver was accused of it and it didn't even happen. So there's a lot of, things need to be worked out. And if it's going to go this way, that for the sexual assault that they lose their chauffeur's license on the spot, why is it just be limited to that? Why not robbery or assault or rape or, go all, I don't know how many high-ranking felonies or misdemeanors, but there's a lot that it could be accounted to as well if you guys are going to, just do the sexual assault. It should go further down the road to other crimes as well. So, thank you.
Mr. Honeman has a question.
Sure.
Actually, in response to one of your questions, are you aware this is just a suspension of the chauffeur's permit only until the matter is cleared? And are you also, second part of the question is, aware that there's currently provisions in the code that allows your chauffeur's license to be suspended? If you had 4 moving violations in 1 year, your license could be suspended.
Yes.
And these aren't criminal offenses. These are just driving offenses.
Right.
But it's in the interest of protecting the public safety.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. You got to look at the, public's interest about, the other crimes as well, not just the sexual assault. So there's other crimes that are, that we have to serve the public. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who'd like to testify?
Good evening. My name is Dan Waters. I just wanted to make some observations and maybe ask a question or two. In this country, it seems like we're losing confidence in the justice system. The justice system many times does not satisfy us with the result of proceedings. We've had a high-profile case in California back in the 90s where someone was obviously guilty but found not guilty. Just recently in Florida, we had another case where someone who was obviously guilty, no question about it, was let off because the jurors were just unjust, in my opinion. Have we come to the place in this society where we can throw away due process of law and just punish someone based on hearsay? I'm not a cab driver, never have been a cab driver, but recently there's been in the news a case about a fellow who was accused of raping a woman in his cab. And this is an instance of somebody making a judgment without hearing both sides of the story. I just assumed that the fellow was guilty. But recently I heard from someone, I was talking to someone who's a cab driver and knows this fellow somewhat. And he said that the fellow is a good moral, ethical person. And he went to fuel up his cab, taking this person to his personal car in the taxi lot. returned from fueling up his cab, and here's this person, and she's waving her panties around, running around the taxi cab lot, screaming rape. And this taxi driver that spoke with me said that he doesn't think that the man is guilty. So a man like this, without due process, we just hear one side of the story, hearsay, and we're going to punish somebody by taking away their livelihood, their commercial taxi license. Have we gotten to the point where due process of law is not enough because we have messed up on due process? I think that we have to go back and become a nation of not winning or losing cases on technicalities, but a country that seeks after the truth. And we've gone past that state right now. We're a country that if you can get somebody off who's obviously guilty, you're well paid and your career is going to skyrocket.
Can you summarize, sir?
Pardon me?
Can you summarize your point?
Okay. Can we make judgments based on hearsay, where a person can hold someone else in control and punish someone just because they feel like it by making a false statement? We want public safety, and I think we should be tough on sexual offenders who attempt to rape someone, to molest someone, or actually do. I think they should get a very long sentence. And I don't think there should be people let off on technicalities.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
But now let me ask one question.
Well, your time is up.
Okay.
And Mr. Honeman is going to talk to you, so maybe you'll get your question in then.
Okay. You have a real short question for me because I do have a response to you, one of your questions earlier.
All right. What if an ordinance was passed where anyone in the public was accused of attempted sexual molestation had their driver's license revoked? Would that be just?
The answer, I think, clearly would be, what's the connection here? Was the sex crime committed in the act of using a vehicle? That might be a different story. This particular case, the alleged incident happened in the process of their duty in a cab. And that's where the concern is that we're putting women and children in cabs into public safety. But specifically to your question earlier, I'd urge each of you to look at the ordinance and actually in the code, and there is a due process provision on a suspension. And the Transportation Commission actually has the authority to waive those suspensions based on preponderance of evidence that's presented to them. So there is a due process. This is not a revocation. It is not permanent. And then further to that, a license, really, by all sorts of means, are not a right. It's actually more process, a privilege. So I'm not trying to be callous or cavalier about it. There are due processes and protections built in. Further than that, just a little explanation, too. If someone is filing a false police report against you, and it can be proven, those persons can be criminally charged as well. And I'd urge the prosecution to do just that. And the police department.
Did you want to make any rebuttal comment?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Come forward, please. State your name for us, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Jeff Bender. I'm a cabbie, and I'm not really clear on what's going on here. I'm all for someone not driving a cab if they've been convicted. They shouldn't be in a cab, and that's all there is to it, you know. It's not like other crimes. They get out of jail. Most people, they get out of jail, they did something, they get a job, maybe they'll be all right for a while. Those guys aren't. They keep doing it. But I've also heard from someone just now that you may do that to a cab driver that's been accused. I've been accused. I had a girl run from me. She threw herself on the ground, spread her legs. I walked away from her, and she called the dispatcher. Nothing came of it, but that happens frequently in a cab. Someone doesn't want to pay their cab fare. and they'll say something that's not true. So I don't think someone should lose a hack license over an accusation. That happened a long time ago, but that happens with passengers. They just don't want to pay their cab fare, and they'll say something that's just out lie. But if someone gets convicted of something like that, I know of people that did children the third time, they got 9 months in jail out in the bush. But that's disgusting, no one should be driving a cab if they've actually done something like that. So that's my 2 cents worth. But I don't think you should crucify a driver over an accusation till you find out if it's true or not. It happens all the time, so that's my 2 cents worth.
Mr. Honeman has a question for you.
Well, it's again going back to clarify, and I guess for the benefit of you and others, this would not affect the chauffeur's license if anyone simply accused. You would have to rise to the level of a criminal charge, and that is totally different. Accusations happen all the time. People accuse people of doing something, saying something. Nothing may never happen. In fact, high percentage of times, nothing ever comes of just accusations. It must merit probable cause to a charge, and that's a higher level of standard, and certainly we need to take steps to protect our women and our children in our community. And so just your accusation you described earlier would not it wouldn't affect this.
Sounds like a deal to me, because I don't know, I'm not into those kind of people very much, And the laws up here were pretty lax for a long time. I know they just finally toughened them up. But I knew one guy did 3 children. He got 9 months in jail the third time. That's disgusting. Shouldn't happen to anybody anywhere. Okay, I'm through.
Wait a minute. Mr. Birch has a question for you.
Yeah, I just had a question on, it wasn't that many years ago we had, it was pretty dangerous being a cabbie. I mean, we had a number, if I recall, we had a number of fatalities, and it was pretty dangerous business, really. And I guess one of the things that popped up then, I think we've had some discussion about that, is surveillance cameras in the cabs. I'd just be curious as to your perspective. Is that doable, or is that would that be helpful?
Well, they have cameras in the cabs. They're really for the protection of the driver, and I think I don't exactly know how they work. But I drove my first one 39 years ago in San Francisco, where they kill cab drivers. And the truth of the matter is, when you're in a cab, by the time you know something's going to happen, and I almost died twice in a cab, the guy's got his gun in your ear. Even you have a gun in your pocket, by the time you know something's going on, it's too late. Either the back of your head's been blown off, or the gun's in the back of your head, and you can't even reach for a gun. But the idea of a camera, at least you can get a picture of the perp.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
My name is Megan Patrick, and I'm a licensed chauffeur in the municipality of Anchorage. And I actually have a couple of things to say on this. First of all, I don't find fault with a law that suspends licenses based on charges as long as you're not revoking them. And you guys also put into this pretty little ordinance change a compensation for the driver who you've charged and suspended if the person is found guilty of lying. Like maybe you could put in some form of, if the victim is actually falsely accusing the driver, maybe they have to pay $15,000 in lost wages, because that's fair is fair. Now I'm going to tell you guys a story. Don't laugh, because the police officer told me not to. I had a lady 2 years ago in the back of my taxi. She was really drunk, and I wear a baseball cap, and it was nighttime and it was dark. She wanted me to go to Palmer. I told her how much it was going to be, and she said, that's fine. So out we went to Palmer to go get a 6-pack of beer. I bring her back a block from her house. She says she's not going to pay me. So I locked the doors, and I called the cops. While I was waiting for the 45 minutes for the police to show up, because they never show up in a timely manner, or very, very rarely, this woman ripped her clothes off in the back seat of my car and started sobbing while hitting herself. When she got out of my car, when the police officer came, she said, and I quote, I'm sorry, are there little ears in here? No. She told the police officer on the record that I stuck my penis in her vagina and what if she were pregnant. Now, I thought it was really, really funny until the police officer told me not to laugh and to think about what would have just happened if I was a guy. Because he would have immediately arrested me. The woman had shredded her clothes and beat herself up, literally. That happens every day, all day. I was at CSP a week ago with cab number 160. He had a drunk lady sitting in his lap begging him to take her home, and he kept telling her, no, you're too drunk, go into CSP, and she wouldn't get out of his car. I opened his car door and she screamed at him, I'm going to tell them you raped me. So it's not funny. It happens all the time. It's a disgusting thing that occurs, and I'm female. So I don't like the idea of women getting victimized or raped or any of the above. But at the same time, you guys also need, to maybe go on a ride-along in a cab on a Friday or Saturday night if any of you are brave enough. 8-9 got robbed at gunpoint last night. That's not all over the newspaper. Right now, you guys have essentially, if this gentleman that's been convicted or that's being charged to this is innocent, he'll never work anywhere again. The newspapers have torn him up. Now you're passing a law to ruin him entirely. And it's one thing if somebody's guilty, but if he's found not guilty, at least compensate the person whose livelihood you're taking. If it occurred once or twice, if I hadn't seen it firsthand myself, I'd say, hey, revoke the license of the person that is being charged a rape. But I have physically seen over 200 times women that are drunk and don't get their way, don't want to pay the meter. These guys, these cab drivers in here, they can all tell you. Hundreds of times. Women, he raped me, he raped me, he raped me. And it was just because they didn't want to pay the meter, or the driver wasn't taking, literally, I had a guy call me and ask me to come get a woman out of his cab because she insisted he come in the house with her when he took her home.
You're going to have to summarize, ma'am. Your time's up.
Oh, that's it. There's no summary. Just simply think about what you're doing.
Okay. Thank you very much. There are no questions.
Okay.
Anybody else?
My name is Erica Gibbs, and I'm the most recent victim of Anchorage Yellow Cab. And I would just like to say that I feel like it's absolutely necessary to suspend the licenses, even if they're just under scrutiny for allegations, due to the fact that I think as a community as a whole, we bear the obligation of humanity and protecting everyone on an equal level, regardless of color, gender, creed, or if they're drunk. What it all comes down to is, in those cases, you don't suspend the licenses, and then it's substantiated, and unfortunately, situations do happen. The shoe could just as easily be on the other foot, and cab drivers do succumb their own injustice. However, Alaska has the highest rate of sexual assault per capita, and apparently that's a problem. So the reality of it is I've gotten in many cabs, and the first thing that I was told or anything, I felt very uncomfortable because I don't feel like they should ask questions or tell you how beautiful you are or anything like that. Their job is to give you a ride to and from your destination. And I don't think that it should be on a personal level. And I feel like it's absolutely, I do agree to some extent to what she said about the compensation for the people who are, just as sick as the perpetrators themselves, who would go as far as putting someone's livelihood in jeopardy. However, it all boils down to protecting the public and the community and safety first. And you can't deny the numbers. Alaska has the highest rate.
Thank you very much. There are no questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that'd like to testify on this? Anybody at all?
Good evening. My name is Richard Evans. It's Echo Victor Alpha November Sierra. I'm going to summarize a few things here. I've been told I only got a couple of minutes. This is going to be fast. I did some research. I got plenty of paperwork here that I could go through. A lot of people here have spoken about a lot of things. This is going to summarize a few things that they've said, a few things you may have already heard. Let's start off with a disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not here to defend Mr. Nowotny. Don't know anything about him other than what's been circulating in the news right now. I understand he's been charged. He's in jail. There are accusations made against him, etc., etc. I'm not here to defend his actions, what he may or may have done. I'm not here to say that this is what he did is correct, etc. I think you get the point. However, I got a problem with this here ordinance. I'm going to have to read a little bit more. Mr. Trainee evidently has come up with it. I have not read the entirety, but I'm going to do so. But I have an issue with this. And this gentleman back here from another country, he made a point about this, about the liberties and freedoms and such in the United States. I'd like to give you a quick judicial and history lesson. It's about something called the presumption of innocence, a legal instrument created by the French jurist Jean Lemoyne. His premise was that the process of law favored the accused, and that the phrase innocent until proven guilty by an English lawyer named Sir William Garrow in the 1700s has been part of American jurisprudence for over 100 years. Innocent until proven guilty. Now, I understand this gentleman is in jail right now, and he has been charged. He is off the roads. He's not driving a cab. But he has been charged. He has not been adjudged guilty by anyone. There is no, at this time, no decision whether he's guilty or not, but you were talking about suspending his license on the mere suspicion this individual might be guilty. I know cab drivers personally who have come to this country from other places, and their livelihood depends on having a driver's license. And if they get accused of anything, or just to say they get charged, they get put in jail like this individual here, they get their license suspended. These people lease cabs. They don't own them. They lease them. They pay for them every day, which means that they depend on that money to come in to pay for whatever they need. If you suspend someone on the mere suspicion that they are guilty, regardless of whether they're charged or not, I'm sure many people here have seen people in jail that have been charged with a crime and are later released. Case in point, in New York City, a gentleman charged who was a head of the IMF, charged with crimes against a lady who was in a hotel there, a hotel maid. Charges have all been dropped. The man's left the country, but his reputation is in ruins. He lost his job as a head of IMF, and he's also been taken out of consideration for the presidency. This is the kind of thing that can be done when the presumption of innocence is stripped from the people. Now, I'm going to have to summarize this. The Constitution of the United States of America does not explicitly cite this particular deal, but it is widely held to follow from the 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendments. And the United Nations in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 11, adopted on 10th December 1948, explicitly states, everyone charged with a penal offense has the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty according to law in a public trial at which they have had all the guarantees necessary for their defense. This individual has already been tried in the newspapers and has already been convicted in the court of public opinion. Okay, now I realize that my time is out. There's a lot of information I brought here, did a lot of research on this. I understand Mr. Honeman's points, and I understand the other points about public safety, but you better watch this one. You take away the presumption of innocence, you are taking away the presumption of innocence from everyone, and that includes me, and that's why I'm standing here today to voice an objection to it. Because even an accusation can ruin someone, and if you put them in jail, you can still ruin them. And as the lady pointed out, cab drivers, they have no way to get compensated if they lose their license and lose their job. How are they going to get compensated? They're leasing the cab from someone else. Their money depends on what they get every night.
We can make copies of those points that you haven't had time to get to.
This is quite a few hours of research.
Okay, well, I'd like to get them to the rest of the assembly. If you give them to our clerk, she can make copies and pass them out to all of us.
I'd be more than happy to do that.
Okay, that sounds good. And there appear to be no questions right now. So thank you, sir, and the clerk will help you get that information to us. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to us on this matter?
William Harrington, Harrington.
This is a sad situation, but I think a lot of good can come out of it. As the lady pointed out, I really do believe that cameras in cabs, not just cabs, city buses, school buses, everywhere. If any of you have been to a casino in the last 5 years, you know that when you walk in that casino, you're on film all the way up and down the street. There is no presumption of privacy in the casino, and I don't think there's a presumption of privacy in the back of a cab. Or if I take a bus, I can't be out there in the back scratching my name in the back of the seat. Hey, we have technology which I think would be helpful to implement. This would protect both groups. Yes, the public should be protected 100%. But, and I've never been a cab driver, I'm a carpenter. I do know a couple of my carpenter buddies who, during the winter when they were starving to death, drove cabs, and they get out of that as fast as they can. That's a bad, I'm not going to say it's a bad job, but it's a difficult job, and it's a hazardous job. How many days ago was it that the cabbie had a shotgun shot at his and this gentleman was mentioning that someone was robbed, and no, that's not in the paper because that's not news. It's a dangerous job. Cabbies do die on the job, and to protect them, I think more surveillance is necessary, and surveillance is, hey, it comes with the territory. You just don't walk in the casino and not expect it. And if you get in the cab or the city bus, there should be a sign. You're on candid camera, sucker. Do something wrong. We've got GPS. We've got video. We've got DNA, and you're going to go down for it, and hard. So that's my suggestion. Get the technology working for us, which protects the public, and it protects the cab drivers. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is the desire of the Assembly to close the public hearing or to continue it?
Why don't you just continue the public hearing to our meeting of the 27th, ma'am? By that time, we should have information back from the public safety.
All right. What that means, basically, if we move to continue the public hearing, is people can still come up and testify at our next meeting. If anything new comes up, then they'll have a chance to. But seeing no one else in line to speak right now, I'm going to go ahead and continue this public hearing to our next meeting. And your copy's coming. The next meeting is the
27th, I believe.
27th. Every other Tuesday.
Public Safety Committee is meeting, I think, on the 21st.
All right. At that point, I need a motion to continue on the...
I think I made one, but go ahead and move and continue.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was about the hearing, closing the hearing, not the main matter.
Okay, let me just make it so we make it easier.
Thank
Move to continue to the meeting of the 27th.
Thank you, Mr. Trainier.
And I second it.
All right. Is there objection to moving to continue? Seeing no objection, we're going to continue this matter. At this point, we're going to take our regular break. Hopefully it'll be short. I think that we should be able to get through the rest of the items fairly quickly. So we're in recess.
So what is it, 20 minutes?
And at this point, noting that we are on the 14B on the agenda, this is a Resolution 230. It's a resolution approving a letter of agreement between the municipality and the Anchorage Municipal Employees Association to participate in the leave donation program. If anybody would like to speak to us on this matter, please come forward. Hearing and seeing no one, the public hearing is...
Move approval.
Second? No.
Is there a discussion? Okay, there we go. Please vote. And we're trying to get Jennifer on the line? Okay. Well, at this point, it passes. The next item before us is 14D. This is AO82. This is an ordinance amending the zoning map and providing for the rezoning of approximately 157.7 acres from R3SL per AO 8421 to R6SL for Viewpoint South Subdivision tracts A1, A4, B1, and B2, generally located on Potterview Drive. If anybody would like to speak to us on this matter, please come forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Assembly. My name is Don McClintock. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner for this rezone. The good news is I think this is a fairly straightforward matter. We do have administrative approval. We have an extensive record. I think the record exhibits, if you look at the record, page 8, Commissioner Pease sort of embodies the hard look that was taken at this matter. These are, of course, the properties on Potter Creek Road, higher up the road. It's an area that's marked by wetlands and steep terrain. The change in the rezone changes it from an R3, more dense development, to a large lot, acre and a half, R6 zone, which is more compatible with the topography. The findings reached by the Planning and Zoning Commission support the change as being consistent with the Hillside District Plan. It has received the approval, and I haven't seen in the packet, but my understanding is you've seen a letter from HALO also approving this, and it's consistent with our newly adopted Hillside District Plan. We would ask that this body approve the rezone, and available to answer any questions you might have regarding it.
There appear to be no questions at this time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to us on this matter? Hearing and seeing no one, public hearing is closed.
Move approval.
Move to approve.
And Ms. Johnston has joined us, obviously. Is there any discussion on this matter? Mr. Birch.
I just speak in support of this effort. This has been a well-researched and well-presented in the community. It's supported by the community, as indicated. I just received earlier today a letter of support from the Hillside area landowners. It's a good project and will well meet the needs of the community. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, do you want to comment?
I just ditto on Mr. Bird. It's a great project. The developer's done a wonderful job engaging the community and the neighbors, and she's also worked very hard as far as working on her secondary access and put a lot of time and expense into that, and we look forward to working with her. Thank you.
Mr. Trainee?
Just in having been in this body for a while, I've seen things on the hillside, but it's the first time I've seen anything of this size come through here without our usual people from the hillside saying, you can't do that. So, Chris, you did a heck of a job. I'll vote for this. Thank you, sir.
Seeing no one else in queue, please vote. And how do you vote, Ms. Johnston?
Yes.
That is approved unanimously. Go forth and develop. The next item before us is 14E. This is AR 209. It's a resolution confirming and levying assessments for the Water Special Improvement District within the Levy Upon Connection Rule 11W1, setting data payment and providing for penalties and interest, accompanied by AM 441. If you'd like to speak to us on this luck rule, please come forward. Hearing and seeing no one, public hearing is closed.
Move approval.
Second.
Seeing no one in queue, please vote. Ms. Johnston, how do you vote?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
That item is approved unanimously. The next item before us is AR 210. This is a resolution again confirming and levying assessments for, this time it's a sewer special improvement.
Wait,
within
reading.
a luck roll. So if you'd like to speak to us on the sewer luck rolls, please come forward. Hearing and seeing no one, the public hearing is closed.
Move approval.
Second.
And seeing no one in queue, please vote. Ms. Johnston?
Yes.
That item is approved unanimously. We're now at 14G. This is AO 86. It's an ordinance authorizing a lease with the Anchorage Convention and Visitors Bureau for use of the historic City Hall building. If anybody would like to speak to us on this matter, please come forward. Hearing and seeing no one, public hearing is closed.
Move approval.
Second.
Seeing no one in queue, please vote. Ms. Johnston?
Yes.
Who are we missing? And that item is approved unanimously. The next item before us is 14H. This is AO 88. It's an ordinance authorizing disposal via sole source sale of real property legally described as Tract 3A Markstrom subdivision to Widener Apartment Homes and is accompanied by AM 466. If you'd like to speak to us on this matter, please come forward. Hearing and seeing no one, the public hearing is closed.
Move approval.
Seeing no one in queue, please vote. Ms. Johnston?
Yes.
That item is approved unanimously. The next item before us is 14I. This is AO 87. It's an ordinance authorizing disposal by means of two non-exclusive telecommunications
Waiver reading.
easements. This is across two municipal properties within the Campbell Creek Greenbelt. Anybody would like to speak to us on this matter, please come forward.
No worries.
Hearing, seeing no one, public hearing is closed.
Move approval.
Seeing no one in queue, please vote. Ms. Johnston?
Yes.
That item is approved unanimously. We're now at 14J on our agenda. This is AR 226. It's an ordinance adopting the recommendations to be forwarded to the Anchorage Metropolitan Area Transportation Solutions Policy Committee.
Waiver reading.
Okay, regarding amendments to the TIP, or Transportation Improvement Program. Anybody would like to speak to us on this matter, please come forward. Hearing and seeing no one, the public hearing is closed.
Move approval.
Seeing no one in queue, please vote. Ms. Johnston?
Yes.
Oh. That item is approved unanimously. The next item before us is 14K. This is AR 227. It's a resolution appropriating $1,028,036 from State of Alaska Department of Health and Social Services and $242,982 from the general government operating budget. This is for the Human Services Community Matching Grant Program. If anybody would like to speak to us on this matter, please come forward. Hearing and seeing no one, the public hearing is closed.
Move to approve.
Seeing no one in queue, please vote. Ms. Johnston?
Yes.
That item is approved unanimously. The next item before us is 14L. This is AR 228. It's a resolution appropriating $595,000 from the State of Alaska. Okay, it's basically for the public health preparedness and response for bioterrorism. If you'd like to speak to us on this matter, please come forward. Hearing and seeing no one, the public hearing is closed.
Move approval.
Second.
Seeing no one in queue to speak, please vote. Ms. Johnston?
Yes.
That matter is approved unanimously. The next item before us is 14M. This is AR 229. It's a resolution appropriating $164,295 as payment in lieu of
Waiver reading.
subdivision agreement. This is basically for intersection signalization at East 100th and King Street. If you'd like to speak to us on this matter, please come forward. Hearing and seeing no one, the public hearing is closed.
Second.
Seeing no one in line to, Mr. Honeman.
I just think it's great that Target's really interested in helping our community to get the signalization, and it's good to see him on the PILA. Urge support.
Please vote. Ms. Johnston? How do you vote? Jennifer, are you there?
Yes.
Yes, you're there, or yes, you vote yes?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. That item passes unanimously. That concludes our items to be decided and voted on this evening. We are now at audience participation. If there is someone in the room who'd like to speak to us on an item that is not on our agenda, we would like to hear from you.
William Harrington, H.
You're going to have to take the mic or the TV.
Harrington. First, a little history. Many years ago, I was taking the ferry up through Juneau, and I'm in the lounge, and this young lady has a black lab there, and I go, "Wow, how'd you get this dog up here? Dogs are supposed to be down under deck." She says, "Oh, he's a service dog." I say, "Oh, that's interesting." She says, "Yeah, well, not really. I just had to fill out the paperwork so that I could bring him up here." But, she admitted to me personally that it was bogus. That was years ago. Apparently, she talked to a lot of people because I think this is going on big time now. A day or two ago, I walk into Walmart. The lady behind me has got a little dog in her arm. I tell the lady at the desk, "Hey, check the dog." Well, when I walked out, she said, "Well, that's a service dog. The lady had all that, blah, blah, blah." A week or two before at Fred Meyer, same situation. Carrying around a little service dog. It was the dog that needed service, not the person. And I want to say this. Real service dogs that are trained by professionals are a blessing for everyone, and we can only support what they do and what they represent. Service Dogs of America here, which I got this off the old internet, servicedogsofamerica.org or something like that. servicedogsofamerica.org certification, is basically selling packages. $250 will get you the whole package. In fact, today when I went to Fred Meyer, there's a lady walking out with her golden retriever with his little packet on, with his little vest, proving that he's a service dog. There's no real training for these dogs. You train them yourself. I don't think there's any real use for it. I think that these people are using the Disability Act to their own advantage with a touch of fraud. The Service Dogs of America does state in this information that, let me see here, I got a page, that it is, here in the small print it says, "It is illegal to represent that you require a service animal unless you have a disability requiring such an animal." Now, one of the interesting notes is that people with hearing disabilities need service animals too. Someone like myself who's been in construction for 30 years definitely could qualify for a hearing disability. And if I really wanted to, if I was so disrespectful, I could take my Great Dane into Fred Meyer. And no one could say boo because I've got the patches, I've got the certificate. I paid $250 and I'm part of the deal. I think that this and interestingly enough, let me read you one of the comments here. Maybe this will show a little light on it. This is a testimonial. "Thank you, Paul, so much for sending me the jacket for Bella so promptly. I didn't write this. It received it this morning, and I am now ready for my trip to Maui. I truly appreciate your effort to make all of this come together for us." Now, what this means, I take, is that, as you know, there's a 6-month quarantine to take a dog into Hawaii. Well, but if you have a service dog and you're an Alaskan going on vacation, here you go, folks. $250 more bucks. You can take your dog to Hawaii with you and enjoy the beach.
Thank you, sir. There appear to be no questions. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to us? There appear to be no one else, so we're at assembly comments. Are there any comments? Seeing no comments, a motion would be in order.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.